Autumn, put your hands where I can see them.
Okay, what is going on right now?
For years, people trusted Autumn Williams with their credit card numbers, their billing addresses, and the keys to their hotel rooms. Every single one of them was wrong too. By the time this footage ends, she'll be in handcuffs facing federal charges that will send her to prison until 2027.
The credit card numbers you've been skimming from guests, we know about the Facebook page.
I was just doing my job. I was checking in guests like I always do.
113 forged authorization forms.
No, listen to me. I would never.
113 victims, $198,000 in fraudulent room charges, 7 months of skimming credit cards from people who had already checked out and gone home. By the time United States Secret Service agents finished cataloging the evidence, the woman behind the front desk would be facing 48 federal charges. The case that would bring 3 agencies to her door had started with a man who lost his house in a fire, a man who made the mistake of trusting a stranger on Facebook to find his family a place to sleep. Before we go any further, have you ever wondered who actually sees your credit card when you check into a hotel? Drop a comment and let me know if you've ever thought about it. And if you're not subscribed yet, hit that button. We expose cases like this one every single week. Autumn Marie Williams was born on April 19, 1993, at Moses Cone Memorial Hospital in Greensboro, North Carolina. Her mother, Yvette Williams, was a certified nursing assistant at a long-term care facility on Wendover Avenue. Her father, Marcus Pittman, worked as a forklift operator at a furniture warehouse off Interstate 40 until he left the family in the fall of 1998. Autumn was 5 years old. She would not see him again until her high school graduation, and then only briefly, and then never again. She and her younger sister, Amaya, were raised by their mother and their maternal grandmother, Geraldine, in a small 2-bedroom rental on Phillips Avenue on the east side of Greensboro. The house had a screened-in porch with a torn screen the landlord never replaced, a window unit in the living room that rattled all summer, and a beige cordless phone on a side table that Geraldine answered the same way every time. Money was tight, but never absent. Yvette worked 12-hour shifts and brought home extra hours whenever she could get them. Geraldine cooked. The girls did the dishes. That was the arrangement. Autumn was a quiet kid. Teachers at Irwin Open Elementary described her as polite, attentive, and eager to please. She loved books about hotels, the Eloise series especially, and once told her second-grade teacher she wanted to live in a hotel when she grew up because they bring you food and they have a pool. The teacher wrote it down on a sticky note and put it in her file. The note is still in that file. By middle school, the picture had shifted. Her 6th-grade report card came back with a note from her homeroom teacher that read, "Autumn is bright and capable, but easily distracted by social dynamics. Needs structure to reach her potential." Her mother grounded her for a month. Her grades came up. By 8th grade, she was on the honor roll. She enrolled at Smith High School in 2007. She joined the yearbook staff her freshman year and stayed on it all 4 years. Her senior portrait shows a young woman with shoulder-length flat-ironed hair, hoop earrings, and the slight practiced smile of someone who had already learned how to make herself agreeable. She graduated in 2011 with a 3.4 GPA, a partial scholarship to Guilford Technical Community College, and a yearbook signed by every student in the hospitality club she had founded her junior year. She studied hospitality management. The program ran for 2 years and required a 240-hour internship. Autumn placed at a Hampton Inn off Wendover Avenue in the spring of 2013, working the front desk. She made $9.50 an hour. Her supervisor's evaluation called her personable, dependable, and a quick learner with strong customer service instincts. She finished her associate's degree that May. Her first full-time job was at a Fairfield Inn on West Market Street in Greensboro. She started at $12 an hour. Within 8 months, she had been promoted to lead front desk agent, with a raise to $13.50. The general manager wrote in her annual review that she consistently goes above and beyond for guests and demonstrates leadership potential. She was 21 years old. She had her own apartment. She had a Capital One card with a $1,500 limit and the kind of credit score that her mother had never had. In 2015, she moved to a Holiday Inn Express off Battleground Avenue for a $15 an hour rate. In 2017, she crossed over to a Hilton Garden Inn in downtown Winston-Salem at $16.50. She moved in with her boyfriend, a man named Donovan, into a one-bedroom apartment on Stratford Road. They split rent. They split utilities. They split a Sunday morning routine of pancakes and coffee on the small balcony that overlooked the dumpsters. Things were stable. Things were good. By the spring of 2018, Donovan was gone. He had taken a job in Charlotte and a girl who was not Autumn. The lease was in her name. Rent was $980 a month. Her car, a 2014 Hyundai Elantra she had financed at 20% interest, needed a new transmission that summer. She put the $4,000 repair on a credit card. She watched the interest pile up. She picked up a second job at a Comfort Suites on Burke Street, working overnight shifts on weekends, front desk to front desk. She slept in 20-minute stretches with her head down on the lobby counter and her phone alarm set to vibrate. She was good at her job. She knew the property management software cold. She knew the tricks for moving guests around when a property was overbooked. She knew which managers actually checked the cash drawer at the end of a shift and which ones signed off without looking. And she knew, because every front desk clerk in America knows, that the credit card numbers of every guest who had ever stayed at any of those hotels were sitting in a database she could pull up with 3 clicks. She was 26 years old. She owed $19,000 across 3 credit cards. Her phone was in collections. Her registration was expired. Her mother had stopped asking how she was doing because she could hear the answer in her daughter's voice. She was working 60-hour weeks and falling further behind every single month. That was the situation in February of 2019. That was when it started. To understand what Autumn Williams did, you have to understand how a hotel front desk actually works. When a guest books a room, the credit card they use gets stored in the property's management system, usually ONQ for Hilton Properties, Opera for Marriott, or one of a dozen other platforms depending on the chain. That stored card stays in the system long after the guest has checked out. It sits there for weeks, sometimes months, attached to the reservation history. Front desk clerks can pull up any past reservation and see the full card number, the expiration date, the CVV in some older systems, and the billing address. They can do this from any terminal at the property. They can do this on any shift. They can do this at 3 a.m. with no one watching. Hotels are supposed to mask the digits. Most modern systems do, by default. But there is one workaround built into nearly every platform on the market: the credit card authorization form. If a guest cannot be present to swipe their card, if they are paying for someone else's room, sending a relative, booking on behalf of a company, they can fill out a paper form that authorizes the hotel to manually key in their card. The form has a signature line, a box for the cardholder to write the last 4 digits, a line that says, "I authorize the hotel to charge my credit card for the following stay." The clerk on duty receives the form by fax or by email. The clerk types the card number into the terminal. The card is charged. The room is paid for. No swipe, no chip, no physical card on the property, just a piece of paper with a signature on it. The system existed for legitimate reasons: parents booking rooms for college-age kids, employers paying for traveling staff, grandparents covering their grandchildren's vacation. It was a service, a convenience, a way to say yes to a customer when the easy answer was no. It was also in the hands of a clerk who had access to thousands of stored card numbers, a wide open door. Greensboro and Winston-Salem are about 30 miles apart on Interstate 40. Together, they form the heart of North Carolina's Piedmont Triad. Between the two cities, there are more than 140 hotels: Hampton Inns, Marriotts, Holiday Inn Expresses, Hilton Garden Inns, Embassy Suites, Comfort Suites, La Quintas, and dozens of independent properties off every interstate exit. They serve furniture market buyers, college parents, traveling nurses, NCAA tournament fans, and the hundreds of thousands of business travelers who pass through Piedmont Triad International Airport every year. Every one of those guests hands their credit card to a stranger behind a desk. Every one of those cards gets stored in a database. Every one of those databases is accessible to whoever happens to be working that shift. Most of those guests will never check their statements line by line. Most of those statements will run for years before someone notices a $40 charge for a hotel they have never heard of in a city they have never visited. No one noticed. No one checked. The first incident on the federal indictment is dated February 14, 2019, Valentine's Day. A man named Paul Henning had checked out of a Comfort Suites in Greensboro 3 weeks earlier after a 2-night stay. His Visa card was still in the system. At 11:47 p.m. that Thursday, while working the overnight shift alone, Autumn Williams pulled up his reservation, copied his card number to the back of a notebook she kept in her purse, and went home with it. The next morning, she opened a Facebook account under the name T Travels. The profile picture was a stock image of a beach. The bio read, "Discount hotel rooms in the Triad. Hit my line. Cash only. No questions." Within 48 hours, she had her first customer, a man who needed a room in Greensboro for the weekend and could not afford the rack rate. She quoted him $65 a night. He sent her a Cash App for $130. She filled out a credit card authorization form using Paul Henning's name and card number, forged Henning's signature in slow, careful loops, and faxed the form to a Holiday Inn Express on Bridford Parkway. The hotel keyed the card in. The room was paid for. The guest checked in. The actual rate for that room was $159 a night. The hotel ate the difference. The guest got a cheap room. Autumn pocketed $130 in cash that she did not declare on her taxes and did not deposit in a bank. Paul Henning did not see the charge until his statement closed 2 weeks later. He called Visa. Visa charged the hotel back. The hotel ate the loss again. No one made the connection. No one looked at the authorization form. No one called Henning back to ask how he had been victimized. By March, the operation had a rhythm. Autumn worked 2 front desks. She had access to thousands of card numbers across multiple chains. She kept a green spiral-bound notebook in her purse, college ruled, with a running list of names, card numbers, expiration dates, billing zip codes, and the dates she had used each one. She rotated cards to keep individual losses small. Most charges she ran were under $300. Some were as low as $39. She was clinical about it. The Facebook account grew. She added friends in batches of 50 at a time, all from the Greensboro and Winston-Salem area. Word traveled. By April, she had what she described in a private message as a real little following. People referred her to their friends. People came back for repeat bookings. A barber in Burlington messaged her every other weekend for rooms for his out-of-town clients. A woman in High Point booked a hotel through her for her son's basketball tournament. A college student in Greensboro booked a room for his girlfriend's birthday and tipped her an extra $40. She told everyone the same story. She was a travel agent. She had industry connections. She got wholesale rates the public could not access. The lie was tight enough to satisfy anyone who did not think too hard. The price was good enough that nobody pushed back. By May, she was running between 15 and 20 bookings a month. By June, 30. By July, she had brought in nearly $12,000 in cash on top of her hotel paychecks. She paid down 2 of her credit cards. She got new tires for the Hyundai. She bought her mother a new microwave for Mother's Day and watched Yvette cry in the kitchen because no one had ever bought her a new appliance before. The pattern of the operation looked like this: skim the card on Monday, post the availability Tuesday, take the cash Wednesday, send the form Thursday, watch the guest check in Friday. Repeat. By August, she was averaging 4 bookings a week. The notebook had 91 entries. She knew her coworkers were starting to wonder why she always volunteered to take overnight shifts alone. She knew the hotel managers were noticing the uptick in chargebacks. She knew that every authorization form she sent had her own initials at the bottom under received by. She knew all of it. She kept going. By the end of August, she was running cards from guests who had checked out only days earlier. By the first week of September, she had stopped rotating. The same 3 card numbers were getting hit twice a week. The notebook was running out of pages. She bought a second one at a Dollar General on Holden Road and slid it into the same shoebox at the back of her bedroom closet. On the morning of September 4th, 2019, a fire broke out in a single-family home on Briar Patch Lane in Winston-Salem. The cause was an electrical fault in a basement freezer. The house burned for 90 minutes before the Winston-Salem Fire Department got it under control. By the time the smoke cleared, the home was uninhabitable. The family who lived there was a man named Reginald Cruz, his wife Tamara, and their 2 children, a 12-year-old daughter named Imani and a 9-year-old son named Jalen. They had owned the house for 11 years. They lost everything that wasn't in the car they drove out in. The dog made it out. The cat did not. That afternoon, Reginald posted on Facebook from his cousin's couch. He wrote that his family had just lost their home in a fire. He asked if anyone in the area knew of a hotel that could take them for a week while their insurance got sorted out. He included a picture of the house, still smoking. The post was shared 473 times in 18 hours. T Travels messaged him within an hour. She told him she was a travel agent. She told him she could get him into the Embassy Suites on Cherry Street in downtown Winston-Salem for a fraction of the going rate. She told him 6 nights, 2 queen beds, suite-style room, breakfast included, $200 cash up front. The retail price was over $1,200. He sent her $200 in cash through a friend who lived nearby. He thanked her. He told her she was a blessing. She filled out the form. The cardholder name was a man named David Foley, a guest who had stayed at the Hilton Garden Inn 6 weeks earlier on a business trip from Charlotte. She signed his name in slow, careful loops. She sent the form to the Embassy Suites at 4:18 p.m. The hotel keyed the card in at 4:31 p.m. Reginald and his family checked in that evening at 6:50 p.m. For 4 days, Reginald Cruz sat in the lobby of the Embassy Suites, making phone calls to his insurance adjuster. His wife took the kids to the indoor pool. They ate the free breakfast, waffles, scrambled eggs, sausage links the kids hated and ate anyway. They slept in real beds. They told the front desk staff what had happened to them. The staff was kind. The night auditor brought up extra towels without being asked. The morning manager comped them a second pot of coffee. On the morning of September 9th, the duty manager at the Embassy Suites pulled the folio for room 412. Something was wrong with the authorization form. The signature did not match the imprint on file. The cardholder's billing address was in Charlotte. The name on the reservation was Reginald Cruz. The fax had been sent from a Hilton Garden Inn, not from a guest. The manager called David Foley. David Foley said he had never authorized any charge at the Embassy Suites. He had never heard of Reginald Cruz. He had stayed at the Hilton Garden Inn in July. He had not been back to Winston-Salem since. The manager called the police. Stories like this don't get the attention they deserve. If you want to see more cases where federal investigators take down white-collar predators, hit subscribe and turn on the bell. We cover these every single week. Detective Allison Rooker of the Winston-Salem Police Department's Financial Crimes Unit was assigned the case on September 10, 2019. Within 48 hours, she had pulled the authorization fax records from the Embassy Suites and traced the originating fax line to a Hilton Garden Inn on Stratford Road. She pulled the duty roster for the date and time the form was sent. There were 3 names on it. One of them was Autumn Williams. She subpoenaed the chargeback records for every Greensboro and Winston-Salem hotel that had reported fraudulent authorization charges in 2019. The number came back at 63. She cross-referenced the duty rosters at the dates and times of each fraudulent charge. The same name appeared on 29 of them. The same set of initials appeared in the received by line on 41 separate authorization forms across 9 different properties. She brought in the United States Secret Service. The Secret Service has primary federal jurisdiction over credit card fraud. Special Agent Bradley Whitcomb from the Charlotte Field Office took the case on October 1, 2019. He pulled bank records, Cash App records, Venmo records, and Facebook records for an account called T Travels. He served subpoenas on Hilton, Marriott, and IHG Corporate. He pulled cell tower records from Verizon. He pulled the metadata on every fax sent to and from the 9 properties between February and September. He had it all by mid-November. The picture was complete. 113 fraudulent transactions across 9 hotels in 2 cities over 7 months. Total fraud loss to the hotels, $198,156. Total cash earned by Williams from her customers, an estimated $78,000. Individual fraudulent charges ranging from $39 at a Days Inn off Coliseum Boulevard to $19,011 in a single multi-night corporate booking at a Marriott in downtown Greensboro. Whitcomb pulled the Facebook Messenger threads for T-Travels. There were over 400 of them. The exchanges read like receipts. Customer, March 12, 2019. Yo T, my cousin need a room in Greensboro this weekend, can you help? T-Travels. Yeah, I got you. 2 nights, $130 cash. Cash at me by Friday and I'll send the confirmation. Customer. Bet. T. Travels. April 8th, 2019. Repeat. Customers get $20 off. Tell your people. Customer. June 14th, 2019. T. My card. Got declined at the front desk. What's going on? T. Travels. Don't worry, it'll go through. They just got to key it in manually. I'll call them. Customer. July 2010, 2019. Yo, my homeboy said you got him a room last week. You the truth. T. Travels. Tell him send me a screenshot of his confirmation when he checks out, and I'll give him $15 off next time. The Reginald Cruz thread was different. It was longer. It had pictures of the house attached. Reginald had sent her a follow-up message on September 8th, the day before the hotel discovered the fraud, that read, I don't know how to thank you. My kid slept in a real bed last night. God bless you, T. She had replied with a single emoji, a heart. A federal grand jury in the Middle District of North Carolina returned an indictment on March 4th, 2021, after a delay caused by the pandemic and by the 18 months it took to coordinate restitution figures across 9 separate hotel chains. 48 counts. Wire fraud, attempted wire fraud, aggravated identity theft, and conspiracy. The arrest warrant was issued the same day. On the morning of March 9th, 2021, at 7:42 a.m., 3 vehicles pulled up to a townhouse on Friendly Avenue in Greensboro, where Autumn Williams had been renting a room from a friend for the previous 14 months. Special Agent Whitcomb, Detective Rooker, a Greensboro police uniformed officer for backup. Autumn was in the kitchen pouring coffee from a half-empty pot. She was wearing a black t-shirt and gray sweatpants. Her hair was in a satin bonnet. She opened the door. Whitcomb. Autumn Williams. Williams. Yeah? Whitcomb. Special Agent Bradley Whitcomb, United States Secret Service. We have a warrant for your arrest. Can you step outside, please? She did not step outside. She stood in the doorway for a full 8 seconds without moving. Her hand was still on the door. The coffee cup was still in her other hand. Her eyes moved from Whitcomb to Rooker to the uniformed officer behind them. Her shoulders dropped. The cup tilted slightly in her hand, and a thin stream of coffee dripped onto her bare foot. She did not flinch. Williams. Is this about the hotels? Whitcomb. Ma'am, I need you to step outside and put the cup down. Williams. I knew y'all were coming. I knew. She set the cup on a small table by the door. She turned around without being asked and put her hands behind her back. The uniformed officer cuffed her. She did not say another word until she was in the back of the unmarked sedan. As Whitcomb closed the door, she looked up at him through the glass. Williams. Did somebody die or something? Why is the Secret Service at my house? Whitcomb. Credit card fraud is a federal offense, Miss Williams. Williams. It was rooms. It was just rooms. She did not speak again for the rest of the ride. At the federal courthouse on West Market Street, she invoked her right to counsel during processing. The interview ended before it started. A search of her bedroom that morning recovered the green spiral notebook from inside a shoebox at the back of her closet. 91 entries in the first one, 22 in the second. Every name, every card number, every expiration date, every dollar amount, every customer who had paid her in cash. She had been keeping her own ledger. Autumn Williams was arraigned on March 11, 2021. She entered a plea of not guilty and was released on a $15,000 unsecured bond with electronic monitoring. Her attorney, a federal public defender named Carrie Gleason, filed motions through the spring to suppress the notebook and challenge the cell tower records. The motions were denied in a written order on July 19, 2021. Judge Biggs found that the search warrant was supported by probable cause and that the cell tower data had been lawfully obtained. On August 22, 2022, Williams changed her plea. She accepted a deal, guilty to 1 count of attempted wire fraud and 1 count of aggravated identity theft. The remaining 46 counts were dismissed in exchange for full cooperation with the government's restitution accounting. Restitution was set at the full $198,156 to the hotels, plus $78,414.40 to the individual customers who had paid her in cash for fraudulent rooms, a total of $276,570.40. The sentencing hearing was scheduled for December 9, 2022, before United States District Judge Loretta Copeland Biggs in courtroom number 2 of the Hiram H. Ward Federal Building in Winston-Salem. The government called 4 witnesses. The fourth was Reginald Cruz. He had driven up from his new house in Clemens. He had brought a single sheet of paper with him. The judge asked him if he wanted to read it aloud. He said he did. He told the court that the fire had taken everything his family owned. He told the court that he had lain on a relative's couch for 2 nights with his wife and 2 children before he posted on Facebook. He told the court that when T messaged him, he cried. He told the court that he believed God had sent her to him at the lowest moment of his entire life. Then he told the court what it felt like to find out, 3 weeks later, that the woman who had answered his prayer had not answered it at all, that she had used the credit card of another man whose only mistake was staying at a hotel 6 weeks earlier, that she had taken $200 in cash from a man whose house had just burned down, and that she had charged him for the privilege of being one of her victims. He looked at her when he said the last part. He said, "I forgive you. I have to, because I cannot carry this around with me for the rest of my life. But you should not be allowed to do this to anyone else. Not while my children are still scared of the smell of smoke. Not while we are still sleeping in a rental. Not ever." He sat down. Judge Biggs took 15 minutes for sentencing. She addressed Williams directly. "Miss Williams, you took an opportunity that was given to you, a job, a clean record, a community college education, a family that loved you, and you used it to commit fraud against more than 100 people who had done nothing to you. The aggravated identity theft statute exists for a reason. It exists because the harm you cause when you steal someone's name and their financial identity does not end with a chargeback. It follows them for years. It costs them sleep. It costs them peace of mind. And in the case of Mr. Cruz, it costs them a moment of grace that he will never get back. You knew exactly what you were doing. You wrote it all down. The notebook was your own confession before any of us asked for one. This court is required by law to impose a consecutive sentence on the aggravated identity theft count, and this court would impose that sentence even if it were not required. You earned every month of it. She handed down a sentence of 37 months on the wire fraud count, plus the mandatory consecutive 24 months on the aggravated identity theft count. 61 months total, 3 years of supervised release, $276,570.40 in restitution. She designated Williams to FCI Aliceville in Alabama, a low-security federal correctional institution about 90 miles west of Tuscaloosa, on the grounds that no facility closer to her family had a bed available. Williams arrived at Aliceville on February 7, 2023. She is inmate number 31487-058. Her projected release date is May 14, 2027. She works in the kitchen for 12 cents an hour. Her mother visits twice a year, in the spring and at Christmas, by Greyhound bus from Greensboro. Her sister has not visited at all. The notebook is in a federal evidence locker in Charlotte. The Embassy Suites on Cherry Street still has Reginald Cruz's folio on file in a paper case file marked Williams A, DOJ Exhibit J. The Hilton Garden Inn on Stratford Road no longer accepts faxed authorization forms. Every manual entry now requires a phone call to the cardholder, recorded, with two-factor verification through the issuing bank. Hilton Corporate rolled the policy out across all North American properties in the second quarter of 2023. The internal memo did not mention Autumn Williams by name. It did not have to. Reginald Cruz and his family moved into a new house on Maplewood Drive in Clemens in March of 2022. The fire department determined that the basement freezer that started the fire had been recalled by the manufacturer in 2017. He sued. He won. The settlement paid for the new house in cash. The cat is buried in the backyard under a flat stone with her name on it. This case was hard to sit with. But the case on the right-hand side is even more disturbing. Click it now.